Hey, welcome to another episode of geekoutdoors.com. If you're going to be making videos, one of the main types of videos that you might be creating are screen recording videos. This is especially helpful if you're doing something like this where you are doing tutorials. And a lot of my videos are screen recordings, and so you're definitely going to need a really good software to do that. And the software that I use and my favorite is OBS. This is an amazing tool. It is freely available on every single platform. So let's go over the settings that I'm using right now. And so the place that you're going to spend most time is under the output setting. Now here, as I am recording, there's certain things that I can't change. But on the default output mode, the default is simple. You need to choose advanced like I have here. Now in terms of the streaming, I don't change anything here. I just leave it at the default. But it's recording where you're going to make most of your changes. So the first thing you want to choose is your recording format. So the recording format that I choose is MP4. You can choose other formats, but this is the most widely used one. And with MP4, you can have multiple audio tracks. And so normally you're going to have 2 tracks. It defaults to 1, and I'll show you why these 2 tracks are important. And then after that, a very important setting is encoder. Now I can't show you these because I'm recording right now, but typically there's hardware encoding and software encoding. And hardware encoding comes into play if you have a GPU, for NVIDIA or AMD, and there will be different settings for that. And I typically just use the software encoding, which relies more heavily on my CPU, because whenever I've tried the hardware encoding, it didn't work out so well. Now for something like a screen recording, this software encoding is more than enough. And you could also rescale your output, but I leave that alone because you could do that in another option. And once you choose this X264 encoder, you'll have other options down here. Now here I choose the rate control of CBR, which stands for constant bit rate. All these other ones I don't really mess with. Most of these are variable. And so with that, then you could set your bit rate. Now, whenever you upload this to YouTube, it's already going to compress it. So at least for me, at 12,000 kilobytes, I get really good quality. And at the same time, I'm primarily doing screen recordings. I'm not doing game recording. And so I don't necessarily need it to be at the highest rate. And the higher the rate you have, the larger the file size, but it also retain a lot more of the quality as well. But I feel 12,000 works really well. Now getting to the audio, as I mentioned earlier, you could set multiple tracks. So whenever you set up these tracks, the first thing you do is choose an audio bitrate. I choose the highest. So 320 is the highest. And then it'll downsample it if it needs to, but 320 is what I set. And you could name your tracks. So track 1 I named desktop audio, track 2 I named microphone. Now if you have multiple audio sources, then you could choose that as well. This one I don't really mess with, this replay buffer. So getting over to the next section is audio. And for me, I choose 48 kilohertz. And everything else I pretty much leave the same. Desktop audio default. And then if you have multiple mics, you could choose that. I have multiple mics, but this is the main mic that I use, my condenser mic. And that's all I do there. And then in terms of video, you have just a few main options. The first thing is your base resolution of your monitor. Mine is a 2K monitor, so 2560 by 1440. And your output, you could actually change it. Right now, I have it at the same resolution as my base canvas, but if you want to output to a low resolution, you could do that as well. And your downscale filter, I use bicubic. There is another one called Lanzo, and that's the very last option, and that'll give you the highest quality, but at the same time, it requires a lot of processing. And so for me, bicubic works well. And finally is the frames per second. Now for most people, if they're gamers, they're gonna have 60 frames per second, and the default is 30 frames, but I feel put at 60 frames even if you're not recording gameplay, because whenever you're doing things like opening menus or folders, all of those require frames. And so the higher the frame rate, the better things will look. And that is pretty much all the main settings that I use. The most important place where I spend my time is here under output recording, and secondly under video. And so that's actually all the settings that I'm using right now to get these type of tutorials, get these type of screen recordings. And at least for me, the quality is really good. It's considering my resolution. And overall, I don't really feel like I need to adjust anything else just to do these type of videos. So if you actually had any thoughts on screen recordings, whether you use something similar to me, or maybe you have your own way of doing screen recordings, be sure to do that in the comments area below. And as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hey geeks, if you are a creative geek like me and you wanted to learn how to create content on YouTube and other places on the internet, then check out my Gold Content Creators group, where you'll get access to 30 videos plus additional content for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part of it is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.